Hi there, Pokket with MMORPG, bringing you another guide to SWTOR. This week I'm covering the hard mode version of Kaon Under Siege, which just released not too long ago, and I do know of quite a few people that might be having a little bit of trouble on some of the bosses. Also keep in mind that this Flashpoint is a little more demanding on the healers, which is something that us healers aren't really used to just yet. So stay tuned in the guide.
When you first enter the dungeon, it's easy to tell what game they are attempting to resemble. Before getting to the boss fights, there are a few different trash mobs to note. The first are a set of screamers. They basically throw the person they are targeting around. The next are the bloated rat ghouls that'll explode when they reach a certain health amount. You can tell they reach this point when they stop fighting and weave back and forth a few times. Stay away from this. In hard modes, this can easily finish off people who are below half health. The last mobs are the mercenaries that grapple a target and stun them until they are interrupted, knocked back, or killed. The rest of the mobs are fairly easy, or at least nothing out of the norm. The first boss is slightly different than actually fighting one dude and getting his health to 0. Someone needs to sit on the turret available when the fight begins, and they will need to shoot down the waves of rat ghouls that spawn. While the party members finish off ones not killed by the turret, the person in the turret needs to quickly switch left and right while firing in an attempt to not only damage, but grab aggro of the mobs so they run towards the turret. We had a DPS on the turret so the tank could taunt the mobs once they reached the turret, and the remaining DPS could kill them off. The reason for this is because should the guys on the turret not grab aggro and bring them to the center, there is a strong chance the mobs will immediately aggro the healer, making the tank have to run back and forth. Then unnecessary amounts of damage will be done to the group members instead of keeping the damage focused on 1 or 2 people. Mercenaries, screamers, and bloated rat ghouls do spawn during this, so it is important to call out each of these during the fights. This is a heal-intensive fight, especially the last few waves, so it is important that the healers conserve their resources as much as possible for the final push when more of the hard mobs start spawning. Once the waves have been defeated, an explosion will occur behind the members and a pathway will open. The chest will also unlock and your team can move forward. The Rat Ghoul Behemoth is the next boss that you'll encounter. Things to note on this boss is he does a knockback and he'll throw a rock at a target. He'll also throw the tank back, and when he does, he'll aggro other players in the group until the tank returns. He'll also enter a frenzy which will tell you to run. So the strat for this boss is to kite him to each of the 4 corners of the room. Once you reach a corner, there will be a toggleable explosive. Wait until he enters frenzy, then cue the explosive. It'll knock off his debuff, and the tank should already be in the process of kiting him to the next corner. Overall, this fight isn't too bad as long as the tank can maintain decent aggro on the boss and get him to the corners before the frenzy. He does have an enraging timer, so this should be done at a decent pace to avoid hitting that enrage. The third boss is the bonus boss that you get for activating all of the containment beacons in the Flashpoint. The KR82 Expulsor is possibly the hardest boss in the Flashpoint, and it is a bit heal intensive. He has a knockback that he will do on a random party member. He will also grapple people into him, and you must run out to avoid AoE damage. These are rather easy to do. The hard part is when he puts a shield up and summons 3 droids at around 65% and 40%. It is the DPS's job to immediately get CC on at least 2 of the droids, then DPS down one that isn't CC'd. Finish off the other 2 one at a time, then get back on the boss. When the ads first come out, they tend to do quite a bit of damage to a member of the group, and the healer can also grab aggro. That's why immediate CC is important. Also, it is best to kill the first set of ads. In the second set, which is summoned at around 40%, the 2 droids that get CC can be avoided till the boss is down. Just kill one off, then switch back to the boss. He does have an enrage timer, so all of this must be done in a timely manner. Healers need to be sure to keep people topped off, but also have good resource management, especially around the time the droids are summoned. I actually failed at doing this the second wave of ads, and one of the DPS ended up dying because he wasn't at max health. Luckily, I had a combat res up. The last boss is actually 3 bosses, all of which start out with a buff stating they are not tauntable. If you kill the guy in the center first, Commander Lagroth, then the other 2 will eventually become tauntable. We killed the guy in the center first, then the left, then the right. The center boss sends the other 2 onto random people in the party. Unless it is the tank that they are after, the DPS or healer will need to kite these 2 around the room until they switch targets. After the commander is down, the tank can take aggro. The second guy, Clark will howl angrily in pain at about 50% and gets a damage increase. As long as the DPS burn him down in a timely manner, it shouldn't be too much of an issue for healers. And the last guy, which I will not even attempt to pronounce his name because it's kind of difficult looking, is rather easy to burn down, and that's really it. Once the dungeon is beat, loot the bosses, and there's one more NPC to talk to before zoning out.
So that's it for this guide. I hope it was helpful, and if you have any suggestions or comments, or perhaps some strategies that you use during the Flashpoint, then leave a comment below. Also, you can find me on Twitter, and you can even follow me on Twitch TV, where I do stream SWTOR Monday through Friday during the week. Head on over to mmorpg.com, where there are other guides, reviews, and game analysis. And yeah, that's it. This is an awkward outro again. Okay.